No one's going to want you after the age of 25. I don't think it's a coincidence that 25 is the age where a woman's prefrontal cortex fully develops. Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, which is the marriage habits of the wealthiest and most successful men on earth, and why the most successful, secure, and established men prefer successful women who are age appropriate. This is a topic that I recently discussed on another platform. People loved it, and so I want to talk about it here, because frankly, I could talk about it all day. So my recent video was about why women's value for marriage goes up as we get older. Because women having the expiration date after 25 or 35 is one of the biggest lies that the patriarchy uses in order to get women to settle. And by now, we all know why this is. Because getting locked down into marriage and having children at a young age significantly blocks a woman's earning potential, as well as her ability for upward mobility and freedom. As of January 2022, there were 2,800 billionaires in the world, with about 300 of those being women. So out of 2,500 billionaires in the world, let's take a look at the marriage habits of some of the most prominent billionaires in our society. So let's start with Jeff Bezos and his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, who is 54 years old. According to Business Insider, their relationship blossomed during helicopter rides in 2018 when Bezos hired Sanchez's company to film footage for his rocket company. Even though it's unclear what the status of his relationship with his ex-wife Mackenzie was at the time, Lauren seems to have opened up a whole new world for Jeff Bezos, and they are seen everywhere together. Fascinating, isn't it, that a man with all the options in the world and chooses a 54-year-old woman, not some 25-year-old, to experience a new lease on life. Before meeting Jeff Bezos, Lauren gained fame as an entertainment reporter and is an Emmy award-winning journalist. Lauren, like many women who marry well, didn't meet her billionaire fiancé until she was in her 50s and in the right rooms due to her career. Notice that even a lot of billionaires, when they get divorced and have every option and preference available to them, are still choosing to be with women who are successful and age-appropriate. You are able to get a much better husband after the age of 35 when you are at the top of your game, in the right rooms because of your career and your success. And this is why there is such an emphasis on age when it comes to the patriarchy. There's a reason why men are getting so upset about women buying houses and getting degrees, because not only are a lot of them having a hard time keeping up, but it's because women get more valuable with age and they are trying to lock us down while we're young, dumb, and cheap. And as my TikTok mutual Cecilia Regina says, older women are uniquely positioned to marry well. While we're on the subject of highly successful women who got married in their 50s to billionaires, we have to talk about Zambian economist and four-time New York Times bestselling author Dr. Dambisa Moyo, who married billionaire and co-founder of Qualtrics Jared Smith in 2020. This woman is highly accomplished, y'all. She has earned more than 20 accolades and awards for her brilliance, including a place in Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People and a place in GQ's 100 Most Connected Women in 2014. Now let's talk about Mellody Hobson and George Lucas. Mellody Hobson married George Lucas at the age of 44, and she is the president of Ariel Investments and serves as chairman of the board of trustees for Ariel Investment Trust. She is chairman of the board of DreamWorks Animation, as well as a director of the Estee Lauder Companies, Groupon, and Starbucks Corporation. Mellody's got it going on. So how would a finance person and the brain behind the Star Wars franchise ever be in the same place at the same time? You guessed it, they met at a business conference. And even though George has benefited from Hobson's business acumen, especially with the sale of Lucasfilm in 2020, Hobson, who is still a high-powered businesswoman, always talks about how his wisdom and his insights have helped her gain perspective. They complement each other. 3 months after their wedding, they both welcomed a baby girl via gestational surrogate. Now let's get into royalty and celebrity. And I'm going to start with one of my personal favorites, Princess Angela of Liechtenstein. She did not marry her husband, Prince Alphonse of Liechtenstein, until she was 41 years old, people. 41! And she did not give birth to their son, Prince Alphonse, until she was 42 years old. And for those wondering, 40 is a pretty normal age to have children in Europe. Before becoming a princess, Angela attended high school in New York before pursuing a successful career in fashion. She then studied fashion at the prestigious Parsons School of Design, where she excelled. After graduation, she worked as a successful stylist for 3 years and launched her own label. Due to her success, she met Prince Maximilian of Liechtenstein at a party in 1997. They dated for 3 years and then got married at St. Vincent Ferrer in New York. And now we can't forget Meghan Markle, who married Prince Harry when she was 36 years old. 2 years his senior, and divorced. These two met through mutual friends and share a vivacious passion for charity work. Their passion and work ethic were some of the main drivers for their relationship. Even King Charles, who married Princess Diana when she was a teenager, could not get over Camilla, who he said was the love of his life. He was obsessed with her for years. He couldn't be without her. And they finally got married in 2005, 35 years after they first met. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention Serena Williams, who married Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian in 2015. These two just met by chance by staying at the same hotel in Rome, because they're rich. And did I mention that Serena was 36 years old when they got married? And Ohanian proposed to Williams at the same hotel that sparked their romance. Love that for her. Oh, and Amal Clooney was also 36 years old when she married American actor George Clooney. There's a running joke that George Clooney is her husband because she's such a successful barrister, that he's lucky to be in her circles. And in case you didn't know, George Clooney was the ultimate American actor to bag. Longtime bachelor, super handsome, and a 36-year-old woman bagged that. Also, American rapper Eve married her millionaire husband, Maximilian, when she was 42 years old. They met at a gumball rally in 2010 and got married in June 2014. This was Eve's first marriage at the age of 42, and they welcomed their first child together in 2022. Now guys, in my original video on the other platform, I got so many comments from women who were talking about how men will not leave them alone, even though they're over the age 40, 50, 60. Look at this. My mom is in her 50s and had men in their early 30s try to talk to her. I'll never understand the expire BS. I'm 39 and I got men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s trying to wife me up. I didn't meet my person until I was almost 37. Always remind women in their 30s, this is when they're worried about getting too old plus still being single. And this person kind of mentions what I've been talking about. I think we forget that regular people aren't celebrities. Celebrities have the comfort and money to choose whoever they want. Regular people don't. As studies show, guys, they need us. Their life quality and expectancy depends on us. Men who aren't desperate and don't need to control women prefer age-appropriate women. And it keeps on going, y'all. My grandma got proposed to by a 44-year-old man when she was in her late 50s. My mother got married at 39 to a 32-year-old. I just met a wealthy Swiss man and his girlfriend was his same age, 50s. As a 43-year-old woman, I can promise you that men still want me, men of all ages and backgrounds. The quality definitely goes up. At 23, a lot of men interested in me are pervs and bums. My mom is 43 and meets way more actual decent human beings. I have to constantly remind myself the men who won't be interested anymore because of my age are literally the worst options. Successful men want successful women. I didn't even get hot until 25. Ain't that the truth? Now, for some reason, my video ended up on the dusty side of the internet. And I've had a lot of broke, uneducated, and insecure men who've tried to make a few different comments. And I just blocked them immediately because listening to Dusties is just bad for your health. And my only main real gripe about being on the internet is that it exposes me to Dusties and they feel like they have a platform to speak to me when in real life they're not in the same spaces. I do not give these people a second thought and they have no space or weight in my life. So please, if you are a brown woman who feels like you're constantly being put down or you're having trouble dating, please go somewhere where you are wanted because there are so many other places that you are. Now, I think it's important to address the elephant in the room. This commenter says, notice the color of the men. Now, while I don't believe that we should be giving a certain demographic of man more good PR than they already have, there is one demographic that tends to have more money over another. And that is not the demographic that has microphones in their hand, always talking about splitting 50-50. I'm sure there are some dusties out there screaming to themselves right now that you can't compare billionaires to the average person. And I would just like to say that I very much agree with that notion. Because you're right, a millionaire in no way compares to the wealth of a billionaire. So the many examples of millionaires with young wives is not considered elite in this category. It's like trying to compare the NFL to your local touch football league. It does not compute. It does not compare. They are not in the same league. And you would think that if you wanted to be a wealthy person, which most men do, that you would want to model the habits of extremely wealthy and successful men. But for some reason, when it comes to this topic, they like to ignore the overwhelming evidence that older women are in fact the prize. In my opinion, it's for several reasons. One is because on some level they know that they'll never reach even a regular level of success, i.e. making six figures. The average American man doesn't even make over $50,000 a year. So $1 million is really a pipe dream to them, let alone $1 billion. And number two is that they are well aware of this, but they do not want an equal partner with their own autonomy. Every man cannot be wealthy, but something that is easily attainable for every man is to have a wife. Someone in their house that is subservient that they can control, that will give them a little kingdom that they can lord over as the king, or king of the castle, as they call it. However, men with real power, men who run things like countries and companies, do not need the small luxuries of small men. They get to have the most valuable thing of all, real love, partnership, and intimacy. Something the average powerless man in our society cannot afford. The average man needs the labor from a wife in order to gain some sort of foothold in society. What type of foothold, do you ask? Well, married men live much longer. Harvard Health reported that married men live longer than men without spouses. It also cited information that men who got married tended to be healthier than those who never married, divorced, or widowed. Additionally, the longer a man stays married, the greater his survival advantage over his unmarried counterparts. Married men also make way more money than single men, and according to a recent study, up to 40% more than their single counterparts. The study, debunking the ball and chain myth of marriage for men, stated that the research suggests that marriage itself increases the earning power of men on the order of 10 to 24%. Married men are also able to have more relations with women more often. Additionally, married men behave better, which is very important for society as a whole. Did you know that 90% of overall crime is committed by men? And married guys tend to listen to their partners, take fewer risks, eat better, and maintain healthier lifestyles. Harvard Health also said that married people tend to keep regular doctor's appointments and follow doctor recommendations more than singles. It's ironic, isn't it, that women are called the ball and chain when there's outstanding research and evidence. The greater the age difference from the husband, the lower the wife's life expectancy. And women who marry men and have children end up with much lower life expectancies than those who are single and never marry and have children. And let's also not forget about all the studies that talk about how unmarried and childless women are the happiest subgroup in the population, period. Notice how these guys worship billionaires, but when it comes to their dating habits and marrying habits, all of a sudden they ignore them. Now, this person says it's only a certain demographic that likes to spread this narrative, hint, the most uneducated and poorest group. Let's look at the evidence here. Interesting. That is interesting as well. And these were just a few of the commenters that slipped through the cracks that I haven't had a chance to block yet. But I did not have one palm-colored man take a minute to comment on my post. They didn't care. The only people in women's comment sections in women's spaces are the dustiest of the dusty. And notice when they're talking about the reasons a woman needs to settle down, particularly by a certain age, it never comes from a place of good, of what marriage can do for the woman. It always comes out of a place of fear, of scarcity. We all know that operating out of fear is one of the biggest ways to ruin your life. So please don't listen to these dusty echo chambers. It's bad for your health. When it comes to marriage, no doubt there's a serious double standard for men and women when it comes to age. Men are often told to wait to get married until they feel ready, until they're mature, established in their careers, and comfortable with themselves, and most importantly, financially secure. This allows them both an extended adolescence and more time to find the right person, but women are not granted the same privilege. From day one of our lives, movies, books, and other media groom women to think about weddings from childhood. The majority of romantic comedies promote the proposal as the happy ending, with main characters rarely being over the age of 30. Even though that's changed somewhat in the last 10 years. Even the toys that women are given from a young age, to kitchen play sets, popcorn vacuums, all priming us for a life of domestic labor within marriage, which we've been told from day one is the main objective. But how many of us have friends and family that got married in their 20s that are now divorced from those partners? I'd be willing to bet more than half. Because here's a secret that they don't want you to know. Advanced maternal age leads to greater marital satisfaction. The same concept applies to parenting, but that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But as I've said, women who get married after the age of 35 are uniquely setting themselves up for happier marriages than women who marry in their 20s. And isn't that what everyone wants? A real happily ever after? Countless marriage therapists believe this is because wisdom truly comes with age. With age comes emotional maturity, independence, and resilience, and a wider range of experiences to evaluate a potential mate. Historian and author Stephanie Coontz quoted to Time magazine that back in the 1960s, people could get married younger, and it would work out because there was little for a woman to do but adjust to her husband. Today, we are coming to marriage with higher expectations, a friendship, intimacy, mutual benefit, and openness to learning from each other. We want to negotiate as equals. She added, these are things that come with education, maturity, and self-efficacy from establishing yourself in your career. It used to be marriage was the way you started to grow up, but recently marriage is only going to work if you are both grown up. Fascinating, isn't it? In the same Time magazine article, writer Joe Piazza says that after interviewing hundreds of women across 5 continents and 20 countries about how to create and maintain a satisfying partnership, one of the secrets she learned was wait. 7 out of 10 times when she asked a woman in an unhappy marriage what would have made her union more satisfying, she responded with some iteration of, I wish I lived more of a life before I got married. The most fulfilling marriages Piazza encountered all over the world in Israel, France, India, Qatar, Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Mexico, Chile, and beyond launched when women were 35 years or older, an age in the U.S. when we start to self-consciously refer to ourselves as past our prime or worse old maids. I remember my first trip to Europe where my college friends and I spent months just hopping around to different countries and visiting our college friends that we'd made during their study abroad trip to the United States. And one of the first things that I noticed about the differences in their lives was that not only did they come from families that were well off, but the key thing that tied those families together other than education was that their moms had them after the age of 40. I thought that this was so wild. And that was the first time that I realized how getting married in your 20s is a trap, and that it's one of the biggest lies that the US and capitalism really tries to groom us into. Because having babies and getting married helps the cycle of capitalism. You have to go to work to support your family, and people go into way more debt trying to support those families. Not only that, but when somebody found out that they could capitalize on the fear of women not being able to have babies after 35 years old, which is so far from the truth I can't even, but again, we'll discuss another day, banks started to be made off of women freezing their eggs. And at the same time, it made more babies born because women who were over the age of 35 or 40 did not take as much care of their sexual health when they were with their partners, i.e. contraception, sprouting more late in life births. So are you connecting the dots yet about how women getting locked down into marriage and having children when they're younger benefits nearly everyone but ourselves? But pairing up with someone of a similar age makes your relationship more likely to go the distance. Experts believe that this is because these couples tend to go through life challenges and stages at a similar time and can therefore continue to find common ground. Several studies have shown the larger the age gap between two spouses, the greater the risk for divorce. A popular study by Emory University actually found that a 5-year age gap resulted in an 18% higher chance of divorce, compared to a 3% chance 1-year age difference. Those with a 10-year age gap were found to be 39% more likely to divorce, and those with a 20-year age gap were 95% more likely to divorce. And guys, a 30-year age difference means a whopping 172% chance of divorce. So the bigger the age gap, the higher the chance of divorce. So what is the reason for this? According to He Who Won't Be Named, age is nothing but a number. However, apparently age is a big deal when it comes to marriage. Partners from different generations may have different values, different cultural reference points, and different tastes in music and film. They may also have different types of friends and different approaches to their sex lives. Another big issue is that sex drive goes up for women in middle age while it decreases for men. In the initial 10 years of marriage, people report higher levels of marital satisfaction when their partner is younger than them, says Grace Lorden, an associate professor of behavioral science at the London School of Economics. However, over time, the marital satisfaction of different age couples declines more than similar aged partners. The probability of similar aged couples divorcing is also lower. Okay, so taking this knowledge, you would think that you'd want to marry someone who is closer in your age so that you are less likely to divorce. But for the majority of men in America who also don't make over $50,000 a year, it's not the case. They continue to want to go for much younger women. So think about how more than 85% of divorces are initiated by women, okay? and the fact that married men gain lifespan over unmarried men, while married women lose lifespan compared to unmarried women. Just those data points right there tell me that at this point in our society, marriage is beneficial for men and detrimental to women. No matter what anyone says, marriage is hard. Women should be allowed to let life and experiences shape their personalities before entering a union with another person. Women, like men, should be given the time to put our careers and personal development first. Because in order to have a successful marriage, it takes effort, time, patience, and maturity. And most women will be glad they develop self-confidence, assertiveness, and the ability to work with others before they join their lives with someone else's. The good news is that I feel like the change is happening right now, and that women are really getting it, guys. Just look at this comment section. They want us to settle before we reach our fullest potential. Exactly. Because what do you do when you see an item that's way too expensive for you? You wait for a sale or you try to devalue it so that you can afford it. And that's exactly what's happening here. And this commenter says, settling down before 35 is a scam, and I'm so glad I didn't fall for it. Amen, sister. My mom met her now boyfriend at 55 and she is being spoiled. Bought her a house, a car, and a dog, and she doesn't work. They travel the world. Love that for her. And this commenter says, I think they look at younger women as liabilities. 100%. And guys, I'm not even using a major sample size here. There aren't that many billionaires to begin with, and the overwhelming majority of them have women that are similar age that they're living their best lives with. I mean, look at Warren Buffett, look at Mark Zuckerberg. And I love this guy's comment because even though my channel largely caters to women, I have some awesome male followers here who really are interested in learning and becoming better people overall. And this guy says, I think it becomes much clearer the older we get how precious it is to share your life with someone. And that's what these billionaires understand and why it's such a luxury to have a partner that understands the nuances of the times you grew up in, the shows that you grew up watching, who was there for the history and events that you've lived through. And this is why having an older woman is such a flex. And as this commenter says, they don't understand that successful men aren't afraid of successful women. They don't need to go after teens to feel superior and masculine. Now, I've had a lot of copycats on YouTube that copy the style of my videos. They even copy my titles and how I word things. But if there is one topic that I would love to see all of you uninspired copycats to copy, it's this one. I love this topic. I want to see it everywhere. Anyway, guys, so thank you for watching my first new YouTube video. Let me know what you think of this style because I kind of like it. But if you haven't, please subscribe, comment, and like this video. It really helps with the algorithm. Please share it with everyone that you know. I was going to go back to making shorter videos, and then I started making this one, and it just kept going and getting bigger. But if you have an interesting story about marriage or relationships that you want to share, please DM me on Instagram. I appreciate all of your support and patience with me as I'm getting my YouTube channel back up and running. I'm still finding a solution to sharing my old videos that were on my channel, and so I'm thinking about starting a Patreon, but that is still in the works. I'll announce it in my community section if I end up doing that. But thank you.